time it is!
Thank you once again for checking out the C Squared Hour. I'm your host, Chris, coming to you after a lengthy technical and personal delay. I don't know, my computer was fucked up and I had a lot of other shit going, so I apologize for that. And this episode might sound a little redundant, so I apologize. But if you look at the title of this episode, you're going to see it might be a little bit of a different format. Special episode for you all. Oh shit, I always forget something when I'm starting up. Okay, so my longtime listeners are going to be asking where the other Chris is. Funny you should ask. He's actually starting up a business and going around the country doing what he's calling reverse interventions. There's always intervention on TV, marathons, and he's watching it and he's looking and he's like, I know a lot of people who got clean and sober who were probably better off on the hooch. We're probably better off on the dope. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to find those people. I'm going to ask friends. I'm going to ask them and reverse intervention them and say, hey, you know what? You are miserable now. You don't have a full life. You know what would give you that full life? Vodka. So he's going around doing that. And you gotta love the entrepreneurial... Hey, partially drunk, still got that right. Entrepreneurial. Now it's wrong. But just the go get 'em attitude, Okay, and I know the last few episodes I've been mentioning this, and it's been off and on, and it's been all this. Randy, I still have to make the offer. I sound like a douchebag. I sound like an unoriginal hack. I know. But you know what happens? The first episode, I don't mention it. You come out and say, you run your mouth around to everybody and say, hey, you know what? Look, he's finally wussing out. Oh, he finally knows he can't take... No, that's not the deal, all right? So, every episode, you're still gonna hear the offer. All right? You're still going to hear it. I don't care how much of a loser it makes me sound like. I don't care if when this fight really goes down, everyone's like, oh, wow, you're kind of a fucking idiot. Ooh, celebrity boxing. Ew. First of all, you'd have to be a celebrity for it to be celebrity boxing. But, ooh. Okay, you know what? Fuck you then. I just realized I have a tabletop air hockey table. Well, hot coffee. Anywho, Randy, the offer stands. All right? Still there. I'm still going to bring it up. And all my fans out there, all the ones who are still sticking around, just know I understand how this might get tedious. But you know what? I have to give the offer. All right? I'm sorry. I do. So, it's been a couple weeks since I've been on here. The big news NFL season started. Honestly, I'm more into the NFL season than I have been in the last few years. Probably because of the whole Asian AIDS thing and there's fans in every stadium and what have you. It's probably it. But even the blowout games have seemed to have some sort of intrigue to them. So that we'll see how it goes from there. But I have a proposition. I have something to tell all you football fans out there. If you cry over a week 3 result, if you cry over a last-minute loss, a blowout, if you cry over a last-minute win, and you're not somewhat retarded, like real retarded, like mentally handicapped retarded, not just a weirdo. If you're not somewhat retarded, just kill yourself. You clearly have nothing going on in your life. Clearly, if week 3 football is gonna bring out that much emotion in you, by God, you got nothing left, bud. You got nothing left. I may have done something similar to this, but yeah, maybe because, maybe a woman's crying because she has her monthlies. So women can get away with it sometimes. You're not a fan. You're just miserable. You're not a fan. Your family just hates you. That's all it is. So stop crying or pack it in. Speaking of idiot fans, the Seattle Kraken just played a preseason game here in my hometown, which is great fun. A lot of people went there, and you should see the amount of people celebrating that big win. The big win that I'm not sure any of the starters played for either team. Anyway, whatever. It was cool. You have a preseason NHL game in a smaller market than deserves an NHL team playing. So I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I think the last NHL preseason game here was when they first opened the new arena. It was San Jose versus Vancouver. I know that, but here's what I'm going to tell my Northwest sports fans. If you don't already have your tickets, hold off. All right? I was looking at the price just out of curiosity. And the lowest price ticket I was finding for just a random middle of the week game, $112. $112, which for a playoff game's pretty decent, which you hear about a sporting event, you're like, that's, not horrible. For compared to San Jose for the same time frame, $30. All right. There's only about 100 seat difference in the arenas, so obviously that's not it. Seattle hockey is currently the housing market. All right, it's the housing market in 2007. The bubble's going to have to pop. Here's why. No matter what they tell you, Seattle is a very fair weather fan city. No matter what they tell you. Oh, well, we're the loudest stadium. Yes, you're the loudest stadium when they're winning. Go across the street to a Mariners game prior to 2 weeks ago when they didn't really have a chance to make the playoffs, and see how empty the place was. For a Saturday night primetime game, look at how empty it was. Which, it's baseball. So many games, you're not expecting a sellout everywhere unless you're the New Yorks, I guess. The Dodgers, probably. But honestly, Seahawks didn't have fans until, what was it, 2004? When they went to the Super Bowl? I do know fans that were fans before then, and they could tell you all sorts of stories about half-empty kingdoms, about buying tickets on the top level and basically being able to get sideline passes because no one else wanted them. So, my Northwest people who want to go to a Seattle game, calm down, all right? The market's going to bust. You're not going to see a Vegas-style make it to the Stanley Cup final in their first year kind of run, all right? The tickets are going to drop. And I would think if Seattle goes under 500. Maybe not under 500. Maybe, well, yeah, we'll say under 500 or pretty far under 500. I guarantee there will be a lot more tickets for sale and the market will be a lot better. You're looking at an inflated housing market when it comes to seats. That real estate is overpriced and the bubble's gonna pop. There's a pretty good 30 for 30 about this. If you have ever seen anything about the LA Raiders, how LA just fucking loved them for a year and a half and then they started sucking and so LA stopped going. Or you look at the Dodgers when they're bad. If you look at those, that's what you're looking at. Seattle doesn't like to admit it because Seattle is a better fan when they're winning than LA is. But they're just the same as LA fan is when they're losing. Seattle fan doesn't like to hear that. So hold off. Hold off, hockey fans. If you really want to go to a game, fly to Vegas. Pay less for ticket / hotel and flight. And possibly be in a better... I haven't seen what they've done with the new arena, but you're probably going to be in a better arena. And you don't have to walk past 600,000 homeless people on the way to the fucking rink. Calm down. It's going to be okay. I still don't think they should have added another team, but that's neither here nor there. I think I've already mentioned that, but there's already 2 markets, maybe 3 markets you don't know if they're going to sustain an NHL team, and you're adding a team. The fuck you doing? Arizona's going to need a place to move. Could have moved to Vegas. Other sports news. Here goes. This is a couple weeks ago. Here I go. About to be a little sassy here. Mark Few, the head coach for Gonzaga, got popped for a DUI in Idaho. I guess he had a few too many. After that beating they took from Baylor in the national championship game, I'm surprised he was only drunk. That was ugly. Ugly. Well, this is their year. No, it wasn't. Gonzaga is basically the best and prettiest local theater actor or actress trying to move to New York and getting on Broadway. That's what it is. Once the bright lights are there, you don't have it. Yeah, you're a West Coast Conference 10, but you're a Final Four or 5. So, yeah, Mark Few got a DUI. And yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the first time. I mean, after that Baylor game, Rihanna saw that beating and was like, whoa, that's excessive. I've never seen a beating like that before. Chris Brown watched it and was jealous. I'm going to have to wait and see how you guys like that one. That joke in my head is either really great or pretty fucking stupid. So, either way, I thought of it all by myself. So, starting off with quite a lot of sports talk here, and here comes another one. Tennis. Fucking tennis. I watch. For some reason, I'm a fan when it's on TV. I enjoy it. Still not sure why. Couldn't explain it to you. Couldn't tell you why I enjoy it. I just do. Is there any more of a take your ball and go home sport than tennis? I can't think of one. All this quote unquote injuries when things aren't going bad. All this whining or, oh, the chair umpire isn't good, so I'm going to walk off. I give a lot of shit to soccer. as it deserves, obviously. But tennis is the ultimate, this isn't going my way, I'm going home sport. Granted, you do have a lot of Euros, and that is kind of a European thing. I'm going to take my ball and go home. This isn't fair. This umpire isn't. The fans are being a little weird. That's why I think, because the number one player in the world, the number one player potentially of all time, Novak Djokovic, didn't like how things were going in the Olympics, took his ball and went home. And that's a pretty common occurrence in this goddamn sport. So, if you ever want to be truly accepted by the mainstream, truly accepted, you're gonna have to get that Euro pussy shit out of you, alright? That's gonna have to go. I don't know what else to say about it. Before I get too far into this, I did forget to mention something at the beginning of the episode. I did ask the lot of you, you like that? The lot of you, just saying that, to give me beer recommendations. And by God, did I get one. Long time, if not OG, Squarehead gave me a beer recommendation. Only one you can find in Montana. Come on, buddy. Like, seriously, you know how this show's going. You know what's going on. Do I really have the show capital to drive to Montana just to get a beer that you kind of like? Help me out, man. And it's not like you don't know what beers are sold in this town. Like, come on. Like, I get it. You're trying to help, and beggars and choosers, I get that. But come on. You know what the fuck's going on. Again, I guess beggars can't be choosers. But seriously, nothing against Montana, all right? Montana would be great if it wasn't Montana. Politically, I love it over there. If you ask, this is why they can elect Democratic governors in Montana, because they say all the people want is low taxes and they want their guns. Besides that, they just want to be left the fuck alone. Love it. Love it. But then you have to drive 4 fucking hours to get anywhere. It's a half hour to go to. I don't think I've gone to a golf course near a major metropolitan area that wasn't a half-hour drive. So, yeah, here, the metropolis of Eastern Washington, I'm within anywhere from 30 to 2 hours to another relatively big city area, where in certain parts of Montana, you're a good 4 hours. And I get the appeal to that, but there's gotta be a middle ground. I get the appeal. But again, like I said, if it wasn't for all that stupid shit, Montana would be great. Politically, I love it. Everyone says, leave me the fuck alone. And by God, I will leave you alone. Alright? I just get that from the, news stories and interviews I watch about it. And I'm sure, being Montana, and if you go to the right places, there's a lot of backwoods country conservatives out there who, if they see somebody wearing too bright of a shirt, they call them a homo and beat their teeth in. I'm sure there's a few of those out there, but the majority of the state seems to be leave me the fuck alone, and I love it. But until someone pays me to do this fucking show, Do not send me out of state to get a goddamn beer. Unless this was Prohibition, you're just wasting my goddamn time, alright? As I fix my headphones here. So, I appreciate the help. I understand beggars can't be choosers, but help a brother out, alright? You're not just some Johnny-come-lately who just heard, hey, this guy wants beer recommendations, I'll give him one. And it's like, oh, shucks, you don't know where I'm located. No, you've been listening the whole fucking time. You know me on a personal level. You know what the fuck's going on. So, don't do that to me, alright? Step your game up a little bit, in the words of Floyd Money. Step your game up. I just saw a news article pop up. Apparently, Mississippi is the least vaccinated state. No shit. Really? That's a question? You could have given me one guess, and that's where my guess would have gone. You could have given me one guess, and that would have been my guess. Mississippi, the least vaccinated state. No shit. I think a third of their school districts are still segregated, aren't they? Probably pretty fucking close. What? They just got AC 8 months ago? Something along those lines? Why is that fucking news? Why is that news? If I remember correctly, and don't get me wrong, because if you remember a couple episodes ago, I only read news headlines anymore. I don't read news stories. Alright? So if I sound uneducated, if I sound like a bit of an idiot, it's because I have to be. Christ, if Simone Biles can walk away from her fucking inspirational shit that she's trying to do for her mental health, I can not click open on the Reuters app. Good. A little throwback to, she just came out and said, I should have quit long before the Tokyo Olympics. Yeah, but then the gravy train would have ran out, wouldn't it have, hun? That's why you fucking didn't, now that it doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, I haven't seen new headlines about this, but I remember when the vaccine was first starting to come out, they said they need 75% of the country to be vaccinated in order to get to what's called herd immunity. Now, according to the headlines I've seen from numerous different sites, again, just the headlines from them, Drudge, Politico, Reuters, Fox, CNN, I've gone through all these. Somewhere between 68 and 71% of the country has gotten at least their first vaccine dose. The state of Washington really recently just made you start putting on fucking masks again. Here's where we're not looking. And I'll tell you why. Big Pharma already got their money for this whole thing. So, well, the vaccine's free. No. Someone's buying it, all right? If you look at Pfizer stock, they're doing okay. Well, if they're giving all this out, they must be losing. No. Big Pharma's taken care of. This has to be the doing of the big mask Illuminati. Here's where I get to that. Mississippi, least vaccinated state. Aren't there a lot of cotton fields down there? I could be wrong, but I do remember the South being known for growing cotton. 100% American cotton, I believe. That's where the majority of it comes from. Could be wrong. maybe not the majority, but a good amount of it. How many cloth and cotton masks do you see running around? See what's happening is you're getting all this craft underwear, all this, this is better than just regular cotton. All of a sudden, the cotton industry is looking like, whoa, yeah, our stuff sucks, it's uncomfortable, but it's what we got. So now they're coming out here and they're like, look, Big Pharma, we didn't realize you were going to get this vaccine taken care of. Thank you, but you know what? We need a little bit longer of help. We need to just shovel in the coffers a little bit. Just help us get our rainy day fund. So the reason the 75% number is moved, the reason a lot of places are going backwards on it's not this bullshit Delta variant. Okay, the Delta variant, I'm not going to argue real or not real. I'm not saying that's bullshit. I'm saying the reason for all this shit being the Delta variant isn't the reason. There is a lobby group that has been ignored for far too long, and this is just another chance to throw them a bit of a bone, saying, you know what? You're right, lobbyists for the cotton industry. We'll give you a couple more months. Here you go, buddy. I think I just solved it. Anyway, moving on. You ever scratch your asshole so hard that you come a little bit? Nope, just me. Okay. Well, since I've been gone with again, like I said, there's personal and technical issues. Both of those seem to have been fixed. Don't worry. My wrists are still intact. Okay? I do not have a rope burn around my neck. It wasn't that kind of personal. I know a lot of my fans could be thinking, oh wow, what was it? Did the bullet just miss and graze his ear? No, nothing that bad. Just schedule shit. Since the last one, we had the anniversary of 9/11, 20 years anniversary. Not as big of a deal as I expected it to be. You would have thought it would have been huge. You would have thought it would have been all over the place. There would have been special after special after special. The major networks, I guess they're not really major anymore, but the main alphabet networks had their specials, of course, because old people are the only ones who still watch those channels. And old people like news. Another chance for CBS News, NBC News to show something. Beyond that, not a whole lot of real specials out there. And I'm even talking the conspiracy side. I'm talking the loose change conspiracy people. I'm talking nothing. 20 years, it's almost like it was weird. I expected a lot more. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything going on that would have prevented or taken a distraction away. There's the whole thing you can think of that I'm not going to go into because I just thought of it, so I'm not sure if I believe it yet. That COVID was created in the Middle East, so we would not remember how bad 9/11 really was. Maybe that's why it was created. Don't know. I don't think even I could wrap my head around making that leap. It'd be a cool one if I could, but I just can't. But not as much as I thought. I literally went through all my streaming services and I looked for specials, and I saw twice as many Britney Spears getting fucked over by her daddy specials as I did 9/11. Twice as many, at least, maybe 3 times. Are we trying to go even further nostalgic-y, trying to go further back. It's almost like saying, like, yeah, you know what's more of a tragedy than 9/11? Britney Spears' dad. It's like that's what the country is saying. It's like what TV's like, oh, free Britney Spears. There's a goddamn collapsed building that happened 20 years ago specifically. Like, you could have cared about her for years prior. You didn't. She was a punchline beforehand. She was a punchline. Now all of a sudden we're looking to her as a victim, not a punchline anymore. Okay, whatever, but there's bigger fish to fry. At least that one day could have been. Maybe I just expected more reminiscence, more. But I guess Bin Laden dead, Saddam dead. Those are the two that somehow got blamed for the whole thing. Well, I mean, Bin Laden, yes, but Saddam, we can get into that later. But the two main targets, I guess, of what the war on terror was about are gone. So even though it was specifically 20 years ago, which seems like a pretty big date, no one cared as much. So anyway, tough time. And one thing I did notice, and this is going to lead me to a couple different topics here. But if anyone has any sort of social media, they've seen the post going around that says, oh, I miss 9/12. Don't you? 9/12/2001, America was a united country against one enemy. And there wasn't this arguing, and there wasn't this bickering, and there wasn't all this. And I long for 9/12. Thousands of people died less than a day before that 9/12. If you're gonna long for a day, could you make it 9/10? I'm not sure how many widows and 9/11 orphans and all that sort of shit. I'm not sure how many of them would agree on how great of a day 9/12/2001 was. But we were so united as a country. Yeah, you were in Oregon. Yeah, in Kansas, you really, really were united. You really were all wearing your USA pins and flying your flags and all that. You were united we stand. Yeah, you were. A lot of other shit happening on 9/12. Could we long for 9/10? Maybe 9/9/2001? I miss 9/12. Yeah, of course you do. You're a 6-hour flight from anyone who was directly affected by that whole thing. Of course you miss that day. You gotta buy your Old Navy flag shirt and walk around like you fucking did something. I miss 9/12. And how come, this goes back to the whole thing. You know it's sheltered white women who are usually, and again, I'm using white as not the race, but just as the description of them, all right? Those are the people who are making those posts. Those are the ones who are sharing those posts. Sheltered white women. And no one is willing to call them on that shit. No one. Why is that? I couldn't tell you, but I hate to sound like no, I don't. I love sounding like a broken record. Makes what I do so much easier. If just, I have, one line I can go down. Guess what? Sheltered white women, of course you love 9/12. Of course you do. You got to throw the stickers on your Xterra and... Was there an Xterra in 01? I don't know. Why am I, and I may not be, but I have a very eclectic group of people I surround myself with. I'm the first person to ever put that together. I missed 9/12. Well, the people buried under the rubble didn't. Bet you Betty spent a lot of time under the rubble. They don't miss 9/12. So, can we stop sharing that fucking thing around? White women. Just because your kid started school 6 years ago and you've finally started hitting the bottle before 2 o'clock, you don't have to post that stupid shit that makes you look even more ignorant than it actually is. But no one's calling them on it. So, how the fuck do they know? They're wine drunk in the middle of the day. Maybe it's not completely their fault, all right? Maybe we as a society need to tell them to shut the fuck up a little more. Not just when they won't let a black guy into his own apartment building. Maybe when it comes to stupid statements like that. Well, look at this. Chris is figuring out the whole radio podcast thing. Speaking of trashy white people, I was at a bowling alley the other night. And yeah, I got roped into being on a bowling team, which is fine. I don't mind it. I actually kind of enjoy it, hanging out with family and stuff like that. A couple things I noticed. Enormous, trashy white broads love the ankle tattoo. Love it. It doesn't have to be anything. And I'm not talking about, is she a great big fat person? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like the 6'3", probably 280, 290, could potentially have, I don't know. There's a difference, all right? There's McDonald's fat, and then there's this fat, all right? It's just these enormous broads. Think 2 steps away. No, that's not right. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, to paint the picture, but I hope I'm doing it. But anyway, enormous white broads love the ankle tattoo, and I don't know why. Trashy, enormous white broads love that. They all have it in a spot where the calf is supposed to stop and the ankle's supposed to start. So maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's, I need to stretch, but I don't know where to start the stretch. Here it is. But then who knows if they can see him or not. I don't know. What I'm saying is, how have these stereotypical things not been realized yet? No matter how much it's been made fun of, no matter where you go with it, no matter how much it gets made fun of, the Karen haircut or the trashy ankle tattoo or no matter how much of these stereotypical things get made fun of, however many times in popular culture they make fun of how big of fucking idiots they are, how is that not crossed over to them? Neck tattoo guy. I'm sorry, non-prison neck tattoo guy. How has he not heard that makes you look like a trashy douche? How has he not heard that? Oh, wow, that looks... No. Look up any story. Type in neck tattoo on Google. The third thing down is probably going to be why you look like a pansy bitch for having a neck tattoo. And I'll give you this. Neck tattoo guy, that's another thing. It's been probably 30 years since this has been a thing. Why aren't trashy people changing how they look, how they dress? And I'm not talking about, the torn jeans or, holes in their shoes. I'm talking about the outfits they choose to buy, the trashy outfits they choose to get. Picture, if you will, you walk into a convenience store and you see a gentleman wearing a full zip-up sweatshirt with some sort of random print on the outside. If you remember like if you threw paint against the thing, that's what it looks like. Just random lines that aren't, and a fleece inside with a big hood and big sleeves. You can all picture it. How has the message not gotten to them? You look like a lowlife. You look terrible, and you look like someone who, hate to say this, but you look like someone I would want to question if I was a police officer. Trashy people have not figured out how to lose the stereotype. Like, come on, help me out, people here. Which brings me back to one of my old kind of, acid trip kind of thoughts, where are we seeing the same news as everyone else? Like, how do we know everyone we come in contact with might see the same shit as us, but someone who we'll never come in contact with, is their TV channel completely different? Huh? How would we know? Because we're only in the circle that, no matter how much we extend our circle, we're still. Maybe these people see different things that talk about how fashionable those sweatshirts are, and how, yes, they're warm and comfortable for when you're walking from the bus stop at 3 a.m. with your Steel Reserve. I don't know. It just, I see them all the time, and it's like, come on, guy. And then I saw one today who was paying for fucking 2 tall boys with change. Change your outfits, lowlifes. Please. Yes, it's gonna hurt the gas station hat business, alright? Those fake FBI hats, or every sort of weird pot leaf hat that's sold at a gas station might go away, but you know what? It'll take a few years for the authorities to figure out, who lives in this trailer park and who was born in this trailer park. It'll take a while for that. See, that's one of those things where I get so wound up, I can't get there's a lot of these things that I talk about where I can't get my thoughts straight. And that's just because I'm stupid and I can't think of anything, and I can't. However, that's one of those where I have so many goddamn thoughts going through my head. I'm thinking so much. I have so many pictures in my head that I can't spout them out over here to let you know exactly how fucking annoying and how fucking stupid these lowlifes look. If you have that fleece, and I'm not talking about, like REI fleece. I'm talking like old school. You know what I'm talking about, the inside fleece. Anyway, if you have that sweatshirt with the weird design on that, I guarantee you have a DOC number. Wow, that's a really cool pot leaf hat I found at the convenience store. I don't like to get too political, but to wrap this up, Texas passed a new abortion law since the last time I was on here, and it's pretty shitty. If you are any sort of pro-choice, or if you're any sort of woman who feels like she needs to have an abortion, whatever, I'm not going to go into that. Think what you want about that. I will tell you exactly why that law was passed. Normal Texas person is mad about liberals moving to Austin. That's what it is. That's the capital. All of a sudden, all these New York and LA people are moving to Austin and they're getting annoyed with it. So the people who born and raised in Austin are like, fuck this. Maybe this will get them to kick rocks out of our town. So take what you want. Your new hip town with all your liberal ideas, that's fine. But old school Texas guy and gal are not going to go down without a fight. And this is their fight. So everyone who wants to blame Texas and blame that, know who you blame. You blame the people who are moving to Austin as an escape from the big cities and basically just turning into another fucking big city. It's your fault. Those people. There's also the whole thing. I did see that it was around the same time. For the sake of what I'm about to say, might have been beforehand. Mexico. That's right, the country of Mexico announced a pretty progressive abortion law sort of thing. So there's all those jokes around, well, look, Mexico's more progressive than Texas. No, old school Texas person hates Mexico, so they're going the opposite of Mexico. That's all it is. If Mexico basically said, if you get an abortion, we cut your fucking leg off, Texas would say, you get abortion, you get an extra leg. Old school Texas person hates Mexico. Old school Texas person hates newcomers to Austin. That's where these things are coming from. It's not difficult, people. Alright, well, that's the end of the 400 fucking topics I had for today. I was able to get through most of them with coherent thoughts without getting too wound up and too annoyed with society or myself. Or, in my opinion, there's only one time where, my brain was too fast for, my mouth. So, which is pretty good for what I'm doing on this thing. That's the end of that. As always, I would promise you guys that, it's going to come, on a regular basis. But I have before, but I have a better plan this time. But still can't guarantee you shit. So, best case scenario, you get an episode once a week. And I have special guests. Worst case scenario, you get a surprise every now and again when this fucking pops up. So, send me your beer recommendations. As always, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at C² Hour. Let me know you're listening. Smash that like button. Share it around to people. Do all that stuff. And since I have nothing else, I will see you all next time.